I am the Namer, guardian of the names of power. Before your world even existed, my people were an ancient race. Now they are gone, and only I remain, keeper of my people's history. Across the endless tracts of space have I traveled, to return to the planet of my birth, Zoidstar. Though my people perished long ago, and their cities were buried by the shifting sands, the machines remain. It is these that have brought me here to perform the last act of the Zoidarian race, the giving of the names of power. When my race was young and had an interest in the affairs of the galaxy, they built the machines, mighty engines of destruction which gave the power of life and death over the other creatures in the galaxy. The Zoidarians turned their gaze outward and laid waste to 1,000 star systems with their machines, their Zoids. But ruling a galaxy was not enough for the Zoidarians. It was not the conquests, but the battles they enjoyed. And though all intelligent life trembled in the shadow of the Zoids, my people battled on, machine against machine, Zoidarian against Zoidarian, in the further pursuit of glory. Zoidarian lives were needlessly sacrificed to the god of battle, and the race dwindled in numbers until the elders outlawed the Zoid duels. But they couldn't outlaw the Zoidarian love of combat. The Zoidarian pilots of the giant war machines were replaced by androids, and thus the heroic combat could continue without threat to Zoidarian life. Too late came the order. Too late to save a once mighty race from extinction, and now only I remain. Only I and the Zoids. And though my people created the Zoids, I have no power to control them. For the war machines have become the living embodiment of the Zoidarian thirst for combat, with lives and wills of their own. They exist only to fight, to ensure that their heroic combat lasts for all eternity. Now I stand on the sand-blasted surface of a world I used to call home, high on a rock, scanning the horizon for some sign of movement, knowing that out there, behind the sand clouds, lurk the deadliest war machines in the universe. It begins!
Kong with a Zoid of sea of us. Ironkong stands 17 meters plus. Armor thick and glowing with neon eyes. Ironkong takes the field to hell it cries. Like heaven released Godzillus Mark II. Its super cannons blow Ironkong through. So we must upgrade our Zeneva Zoid. Develop Ironkong Mark II Android. Ironkong Mark II, crush hellish foes now. Ironkong Mark II, serve Empire vow. Ironkong Mark II, maneuver and fly. Ironkong Mark II, make Godzillus cry. With boosters, Ironkong Mark II is fast, able to avoid helicannon blast. Ironkong Mark II fights Godzillus foes. Even Godzillus Mark II feels the woes. But Ironkong Mark II is also on. Missiles and rockets lead Godzillus harm. Mighty Iron Fist win the melee fight. Ironkong Mark II is in need of us. Ironkong Mark II, crush hellish foes now. Ironkong Mark II, serve Empire vow. Ironkong Mark II, maneuver and fly. Ironkong Mark II, make Godzillus cry. steel, Ironkong beware. Laser eyes are red and fists of iron light. Ironkong on two beams like the night. Ironkong, mark two, crush hellish foes now. Ironkong, mark two, serve empire vow. Ironkong, mark two, maneuver and fly. Ironkong, mark two, make Godzillas cry. Ironkong, mark two, crush hellish foes now. Ironkong, mark two, serve empire vow. Ironkong, mark two, maneuver and fly. Ironkong, mark two, make Godzillas cry.
Once was a time full of wonder, without war, hate, and enemy. Now you can sense rolling thunder and the magic that's no longer free. In the night I feel them calling from far beyond the sea. Soon comes the time of destruction, when the war began to rise. Weapons with multiple functions. There's no place where you can stay alright. In the night I hear them coming, marching towards cities. And soon the foes are falling, but still we hope for peace, not And now I see them coming, marching towards the cities. As the bombs are countless falling, but still we cry for peace, cry for peace, not Once was a time full of wonder, before war began to rise.
rise to Zoidzilla. Gore is the second strongest red Zoid killer, defending guardian lands with red eyes. The Lord Protector lies for red Zoid cries. Now from the shadows rises Silverman, man and Zoid with his insidious plan, constructing Zoids of twisted steel and fire. The black Zoid brings his techno-heart's desire. For the Lord Protector, red Zoids he'll fight. For the Lord Protector, brings blue Zoid light. For the Lord Protector, guardian call. For the Lord Protector, will battle all. The black Zoid, Gore strikes the first blow, casting the abomination down low from his cruel steel soul. It rises anew to cut down Gore and leave his head at you. Protector, red Zoids he'll fight. For the Lord Protector, brings blue Zoid light. For the Lord Protector, guardian call. For the Lord Protector, will battle on. Zoid light. For the Lord Protector, guardian call. For the Lord Protector, will battle all.
It is the never-ending battle between red and blue Zoids. It has been waged for centuries. It rages still, with no end in sight.
The Namer, last of the Zoidarians, guardian of the names of power, keeper of the legend of heroic combat, have spoken.